Hi guys, it's Mishel, Deception Bytes, and I am picking up from where I left off with the Q post. I did not upload a video yesterday, as you are probably aware if you're a regular listener, so I am far behind. And the reason I'm far behind is not only because I didn't upload a video yesterday, which I just could not fit into my day, but Q has been busier than a cat covering crap on a marble floor. That's crude, I know. I'm moving on. All right, picking up from where we left off, Q posted this picture of a tweet, and it was retweeted by Edward Snowden, by Zach, and the original post was Zach Whitaker. And he said, "I wish we had more of this. No reason why government whistleblower or watchdog organizations don't adopt Tor services to help report wrongdoings and corruption, just like SecureDrop, which journalists use already." Now, the reason why Q is drawing our attention to this is because of, he puts below, really, he explains it himself, at Snowden. "Thank you for showing the world how clowns pass the narrative to journalists at 4 a.m. Now, that should sound familiar to us because he talked about this in earlier posts, about how the talking points were passed to journalists at 4 o'clock in the morning. And this is how they did it. The clowns would pass the narrative to, and put it in the Dropbox, the secure drop, and journalists would retrieve it from there, apparently. So, and Q is asking us to reread crumbs regarding SecureDrop. So Snowden and John Perry Barlow are both CIA. They passed the journalists their day's talking points at 4 a.m. via SecureDrop. And see below, Q has said John Perry Barlow. So he's talking about Snowden and John Perry Barlow, and then he signs off Q. Now, over here I have some notes. Hang on here. So James Dolan was the co-creator of SecureDrop, and he died at the age of 36. All right. The Freedom of the Press Foundation. Now, this is an old report that I pulled this from, so he died a while ago. The Freedom of the Press Foundation is reporting that James Dolan, former Marine and co-creator of the whistleblowing submission system SecureDrop, alongside Aaron Swartz and Wired editor Kevin Poulsen, has died at age 36. He reportedly took his own life. Yeah. First deployed as strongbox with the New Yorker organizations such as the Washington Post, the New York Times, the Associated Press, and Gizmodo Media Group have all come to rely on SecureDrop, which allows highly secure communications between journalists and sources in possession of sensitive information or documents. As an industry tool, it has become invaluable for reporters. Dolan joined the Freedom of the Press Foundation to maintain SecureDrop after co-creator Aaron Swartz took his life in 2013 at the age of 26. Isn't that interesting? So James Dolan takes over from Aaron Swartz, who takes his life, and then he ends up at 36 taking his life. So you've got two people in the same position, both young men, taking their life. Was it suicide or was it murder? Well, I have my thoughts. So that's interesting. So Q is telling us right here how this happens. The CIA, they pass the narrative, the talking points, what they want the press to report on. They pass it through, it goes through SecureDrop, and that's where, the Associated Press gets their information from. So, yeah, and Q had been hinting at that before, but now, of course, he's just come right out and said it. So, let's go up to the next one. Now, at the end of the last video I did, there was a post by Q saying that basically, where are the tweets from Hillary Clinton and Chelsea Clinton and Bill Clinton and Hussein about the school shooting. And I did check, and this is correct. an anonymous user has said, the Clintons didn't tweet about it until after Q posted. Check the timestamps. Now that's true. And not only did they not post until after Q posted, but none of them offered any condolences to the family at that point anyway. Maybe they have since then. I haven't checked, but they hadn't at that time. So, yeah. And Q responds to this and says, was the point proven? This board has more power than you can imagine. Q. Now, the suggestion there is, of course, that, they're watching the board, and when they saw that, then they posted, which I think is probably right. So, because they did post after Q posted that about where are their tweets. So, and I wrote here, this is true. Additionally, they offered no support to victims and used the incident to further push the anti-gun narrative. I did not see a tweet or retweet from Hillary at all. So, yeah, that it's actually really getting on my nerves because they're just using this. They're not even giving the family chance to grieve before they're turning it into, they never want to let a crisis go to waste, right? They're going to use that to further their agenda. And I believe that this was probably a deep state operation anyway. I really do. And it just seems to me that there's more and more evidence of that. Now, I promised I wasn't going to get into the news, and I'm not going to, but if you go out and you look into this, you'll see that there's a lot that does not make sense at all. So, yeah. So, let's go to the next one. Q says, he actually quotes himself again. He says, was the point proven? This board has more power than you can imagine. Q. And then he makes reference to his repost there and says, they are always watching. And I believe that he means they're always watching this board because it would make sense in the context of, what we've just gone over. They're always watching this board. And then he says, watch the news regarding new drugs coming out. And he puts in square brackets, flu, dirt, next. Now, and then he puts underneath, what a coincidence. And I think he's saying coincidence because Q's been talking about Big Pharma being more interested in maintaining sick people on expensive drugs, no doubt, than curing them. The cancer drugs, wow, they make a killing from that. And I honestly do believe that there is a cure for cancer, and maybe more than one. So he also claimed that cures are suppressed, which we know that. I mean, there wouldn't be all these dead naturopathic doctors if they weren't trying to suppress cures. I don't know how many doctors have died, naturopathic doctors, but it's astounding. So let's look at this first link. So something in the news coming out about flu, dirt, and then he says next. So here is something that I found. New pill kills the flu virus in 24 hours. Now that's pretty awesome, really, when you think about it, because I don't get the flu very often. Probably I can count on one hand the times in my life I've had the flu. But when I do get it, it tends to last a long time. And, to have it over with in 24 hours, that's just awesome. So this year's flu season is the most severe we've seen in several years, and I wonder why. In the future, we might be able to prevent the virus from spreading from person to person using a fast-acting new drug. This year's flu season is said to be the most widespread on record, causing more than 17,000 hospitalizations since October 2017, according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Now, a Japanese drug maker claims to have developed a pill capable of killing the virus in just one day. Japanese and American flu patients who took part in the recent trial of Xiangji and company pill are said to have had the virus wiped out from their bodies in about 24 hours. Now, this makes me question as well, what about other viruses? If they can wipe out the flu virus from our bodies, are they going to be able to wipe out other viruses from our body, which would be awesome. For comparison, the popular Tamiflu medicine produced by the Roche group was found to take 3 times as long. So there you go. I don't think I need to read all of this because I don't think that that's the point of what Q is posting. I think what he's saying is this a coincidence, because he's been talking about Big Pharma being more interested in maintaining sick people than in curing them, and also suppressing the cures. And so all of a sudden now we've got a cure for the flu, which I would say if we're able to wipe it out in 24 hours, that's a cure. I mean, it would be better if we could just prevent it altogether. Certainly the vaccines don't. We all know that. I've had a vaccine for flu twice because I had to, where I was working. And both times I got the flu. So, no, I don't want that stuff in my body. So anyway, let's look at the second link. Now remember back there he said dirt. Okay? Well, apparently powerful antibiotic found in dirt could kill drug-resistant superbugs. I was able to dig that up as well. So that's pretty awesome. And I know that this is a big, big problem. My stepfather has COPD, and my real dad passed away, and my mother remarried, and he's got COPD, although he never smoked, which is odd. But anyway, he gets like pneumonia all the time, and the antibiotics have stopped working on him, and it's that way for like a lot of people now. So this is actually a massive, massive breakthrough. Like if that is true and they're able to do that, that will probably save so many lives. So I'm not going to go through again and read all this. If you're interested in that, you can go out and take a boo and try to find it. I found this on, well, it's a strange website to find it on, Alive for Football. All right. Okay, I don't know. It's odd, isn't it? Anyway, and that was new. That was February 14th. And so interesting, because I think Q posted this when? February 15th. So I don't know. Anyway, I'm not sure what he's saying here about next. I don't know. But the flu and the dirt, I think I nailed it on these two. I think. So they've got a cure for flu now, apparently, and they've got a new, they can make antibiotics out of dirt now that can help with superbugs. Let's go on. Now, he references himself again with this post. They are always watching. Watch the news regarding new drugs coming out. Flu, dirt, next. And these are in the little kill box too, which I'm not sure if that's significant or not. And then he says, what a coincidence, Q. And then he's referencing himself and he says, did Hussein receive a letter in the mail with white powder? What a coincidence. Message received, response forthcoming, Q. Well, did he? As a matter of fact, he did. White powder mailed to Barack Obama's office building in Washington, D.C. Multiple law enforcement agencies are investigating a suspicious package filled with white powder shipped to the building in Washington, D.C., where former President Barack Obama leases an office. D.C. Fire and EMS were dispatched at 11:05 on Tuesday morning to assist law enforcement in investigating an unknown substance. Public Information Officer Vito Maggiolo told The Independent. Mr. Obama has leased offices in the building since he left the White House in 2017. The building also contains the headquarters of the World Wildlife Fund, an environmentalist group. A spokesman Spokesman for the U.S. Secret Service, which also responded to the scene, said that the package was not addressed to any Secret Service protectees. Mr. Obama lives with his family in the nearby Kalorama neighborhood. It was unclear whether he was in the office at the time the package was received. Authorities determined the substance was non-hazardous and no one was harmed or evacuated, Mr. Maggiolo said. According to Fox News, the package was mailed from Hong Kong with no return address. It reportedly contained baby powder. So, yeah. My thoughts on this are this. And of course, then it references here, about President Donald Trump's daughter-in-law, Vanessa Trump, received a letter containing a white powder the day before. So this is my thought on that, because I'm like, okay, it would be odd that Barack Obama would receive a letter because, we assume that this was a warning of some sort, right? Because that's what Q has told us, and he says message received. Now, I think it was mailed to Hussein to cover up their tracks so that it didn't look like it was the deep state and the Democrats that were doing this. That's what I think, because he probably wasn't even there. He rents office space there. So what? That doesn't make sense to me. It just does not make sense to me. And why, for what reason would they send it to Barack Obama? I mean, all the time he was in office, nothing like that happened. And now that he's out of office, it just does not make sense. So I think that it was kind of a ruse to throw whoever is investigating off track by saying, well, look, he received it too. It couldn't be who you think, because, they sent it to Barack Obama too. That's what I think. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. All right. Now Q says, you are missing the connections. Continue to build the map. And of course, the map is the big, it's a big post. Well, it is kind of a map, but it has all of Q's posts on it. Map provides the key. The key spreads the truth. Truth shines light. Light saves humanity. Future proves past. Trust the plan. Q. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. Then, okay. Q posts here, watch the water. Q. Now, I know that everybody is assuming this means watch the water, it could be a submarine, could be a caused tsunami. I don't know. But that would be my first inclination. But this could be read two ways. Watch the water, as in watch our coastlines, watch, for submarine, I don't know. But it also could mean watch the water that we drink. Because let me take you out and show you a couple things. And I think most of you people, because you are awake, I think you already know about this stuff. But it just bears repeating in case there are people that haven't heard about this. Wall Street megabanks are buying up the world's water. A disturbing trend in the water sector is accelerating worldwide. The new water barons, the Wall Street banks and elitist multi-billionaires, are buying up water all over the world at an unprecedented pace. Familiar megabanks and investing powerhouses such as Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan Chase, Citigroup, UBS, Deutsche Bank, Credit Suisse, Macquarie? I don't even think I've heard of them. Bank, Barclays Bank, the Blackstone Group, Allianz, I don't know the name of some of these banks, HSBC, most of them are familiar to me, among others, are consolidating their control over water. Wealthy tycoons such as T. Boone Pickens, former President George H.W. Bush and his family, Hong Kong's Li Ka-shing, Philippines' Manuel P. Not sure how to pronounce that, and other Filipino billionaires and others are also buying thousands of acres of land with aquifers, lakes, water rights, water utilities, and shares in water engineering and technology. Now, of course, we know that whoever controls the water controls the world. Whoever controls the food controls the world. We can't live without air, water, food. I mean, those are absolutely, that's broken down to the absolute most basic of our needs to survive. We need those things. If we don't, and I mean, they're taking over our food as well. The big conglomerations, we have no control over what goes into our food. Well, we do. We can not eat it, which is what I do. I don't eat it. I don't eat that processed crap. And but anyway, you know, and they're controlling our water now too. I mean, I know here, like if you want to have your own well, it costs you so much money because you have to go through all this testing and all this stuff. They don't want people to have their own wells. They want them to be on city water. Why? Well, they can control it. They put stuff in our water, the fluoride, anyway. Let's go back here. It depresses me talking about that stuff because it just, I don't like having no control. But I always buy bottled water, and I make sure, but who's to say they're not putting it in bottled water? I don't know. Okay. And this is just a link to World Water Day in 2018. I don't know if that has anything to do with it. It's coordinated by the UN. I don't know. Freshwater related issues in collaboration with governments and partners. In 2008, the theme for World Water Day is Nature for Water. I don't know. So that's another thing to look at, but I would doubt that one is really what he's talking about. But now what's this one? Oh yes. External medicine, discarded drugs may contaminate 40 million Americans' drinking water. Now, I've been hearing about this for a long time. I mean, there's all sorts of drugs in the water because, well, it could be from people dumping drugs down the toilet. It could be, people urinate out the drugs from their systems. I don't know, but they're in there. They're definitely in the water. Pharmaceuticals were in the news again recently, how they are polluting water and raising a host of health issues because we dispose of them both unused and used through bodily waste elimination. What can be done? So all this stuff is entering into the groundwater, the rivers, the lakes, estuaries, and bays, and it's a growing problem according to them, and I believe that. Millions of us are flushing unused medications down the toilet and discarding them in our body waste, even through sewage treatment plants and septic systems were never designed to deal with such contaminants. Additional discharges by healthcare facilities exacerbate the problem. As a result, the researchers have identified trace of pharmaceutical drugs in the drinking water supplies of some 40 million Americans. It's a lot of people. A lot of people. So that's something else that if you're interested in, you can go out and research. I'm not going to spend too much time on it here, but I am going to look at one more article that I think you'll find interesting, especially if you live in New York City. These 14 drugs and chemicals were found in New York City tap water. So if you live in New York City, this might interest you. Well, it might interest you anyway, because if they found it in New York City, goodness sakes, they're going to find it in any large city, right? So let's go over paraxanthine. It's a stimulant, primary byproduct of caffeine. Acetaminophen, of course, that's just like Tylenol. Butalbital. It's a barbiturate. It's in the class of medicines called barbiturates, and it affects the central nervous system. It's mainly used as a depressant drug. Could have similar clinical syndromes as intoxication when consumed in small doses. Can cause mental or physical dependence. Caffeine, of course, I would expect them to find that in there. Carbamazepine, and that is an anticonvulsant, which I believe is used for epilepsy. Yeah, treats certain types of seizure and mania episodes in patients with bipolar disorder. Contonine, it's one of the 20 different kinds of byproducts of nicotine processed through the body. DEET, or DEET, is a yellow oil commonly used as an active ingredient in insect repellents. Yummy. Let's drink more. Diltiazem, and that's in a group of medications called calcium channel blockers, which is commonly used for high blood pressure and chest pains. Diazepam, which of course is Valium. Gemfibrozil, that's used to treat heart disease and high cholesterol. Ibuprofen, we all know what that is. Loperamide, that's also used for cardiovascular imaging. And okay, that's not what I thought it was. I thought it was used for high blood pressure too, but it's not. It's most commonly administered as an injection to enhance contrast in X-rays. And meprobamate, and that's a tranquilizer. Primidone, that's an anticonvulsant. It treats seizures. Sulfamex, I can't pronounce that. It's an antibiotic. And so there you go. That's what you're drinking if you're in New York City and probably any other large metropolitan area. And who knows what else is in there. So, yeah. And I found out, see, I drink bottled water, and there's one kind of bottled water by Nestle up here that I found out adds fluoride to the bottled water. So now I avoid that as well. So I don't know, but our water is getting increasingly more and more polluted with all these things that we do not want in our bodies. Let's go on. Now, I posted this picture because Q actually makes reference to it. So let's take a look at what this is. And in reference to the screenshots below, Q says, "Great work, Anon Q." So one of the anonymous posters on 8chan posted these two pictures. First of all, they're showing Secure Drop, and they're showing that it's run on Apache server, which that's what I thought Apache meant, you know, when Q was talking about Apache. And down here, it's showing his just a screenshot of Q's posts, and this was on January 27th when he said, "Reread past drops, mouthpiece controlled, carefully crafted, out there statements with falsified fake Mueller drops will be made that no one else would dare say or suggest." Pawn, and then up here they've marked at Snowden, the clock is ticking, how's Russia, Mr. Contractor, freedom of the press, Secure Drop, whistleblowers, Secure Drop, clowns in America, nobody is safe. So basically this person is pointing out that Secure Drop uses Apache, and they, you know, Snowden is involved, and the whistleblowers, Secure Drop is supposed to be for whistleblowers, but it's actually the CIA that's making these drops. And yeah, and he's connecting that with falsified fake Mueller drops. So anyway, Q says, "Good work, Anon." So obviously this is right on, and obviously that's what Apache was referring to as well. So let's go up to the next. Now, Q is making reference here to this post by an anonymous user, and this person says, I almost killed myself doing heroin and painkillers. Then you came around. I started realizing I had a purpose. I literally got sober for this. Thank you, Q. My mother hasn't seen me sober in over 10 years. We are with you. We will not give up. FF. I love it. We are restoring the Republic. Every day we strike. Every day we win. We are winning bigly. Cannot say thank you enough. Now Q responds to this person by saying, you are a strong patriot. Do not give in. Fight, fight, fight. You have more friends than you can imagine. United we stand. God bless. Q. Which I thought that was a very nice response. And now, this is going to be a big one. I'm not sure if this is referencing this or not. Just 1 second here. Hang on 1 second. I want to make sure I'm giving you the right, yes. Okay, so this one comes before this one. And I'm going to read this one out, but I'm not going to really comment on it because he reposts this further up, and that's where we'll get into the comments. So Q says, why is everything really made in China? Cost savings? Why is POTUS focused on Saudi Arabia, China, Russia? Why? Why is Russia being used against POTUS? Why Russia? What damage can Russia do to Dems? What damage can China do to Dems? Iran? North Korea? Why does Hussein travel before and after the POTUS regarding foreign trips? Use logic. Why is POTUS focused on bringing back manufacturing? Jobs? Security? Control? True control? Who can you trust? The world is not how you view it. Trust the plan. We are winning. Arrests will come. Logic should answer why it must follow other unfolding events. Learn and spread. Build proofs. 1 second. We've provided many proofs that cannot be disputed as coincidences. This was done for a reason. More will be provided. Direct confirmation will come. It cannot come now. It will be lost. The message is not ready. You are part of the army. We are depending on you. For God and country. Where we go one, we go all. Stay safe this week. Q. Now, in answer to that, and that was Q, but Q was referencing himself, and that he was referencing this post, and he said, Consumer Protection Agency, Senator Warren, corruption, infiltration, slush fund, goodbye, Q. So let's take a look at this. There's a lot to go over. Q, he's been dropping like a huge amount of information, and to tell you the truth, I think there's just so much more there than I've been able to figure it out. It's going to take all of us. All right, Warren's Consumer Protection Agency sets dangerous precedent. Senator Elizabeth Warren's government-run wild brainchild is continuing its left-wing sprint into the Trump era, and only Congress can stop its usurpations. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, the agency created by the then Harvard law professor Warren in the Obama years, effectively to enact liberal policies without new legislation or executive branch oversight, has issued a new rule that is the essence of lawmaking by regulation, something the founding fathers attempted to prevent through the Constitution's design. With the new law by regulation set to go into effect in only 60 days, Congress has a narrow window to rescind it under the Congressional Review Act, by far the easiest, fastest, and cleanest way to give the CFPB the brushback it, quite obviously needs, and Congress is well practiced at using the tool to rescind regulations, having rescinded 14 midnight regulations promulgated by the Obama administration in the waning days of their term. The rule in question would prohibit consumers from agreeing to use arbitration, waiving their ability to join class action lawsuits to remedy any disputes they have with banks or credit card companies. This is problematic on many fronts. First, call me old-fashioned, but I still believe adults are perfectly well equipped to enter contracts with one another without the government deciding the terms aren't good enough for one party or the other. Secondly, the CFPB's own 2015 study found that arbitration is actually beneficial to consumers. The agency's own findings show that arbitration is relatively fair and successful at resolving a range of disputes, and that regulatory efforts to limit the use of arbitration will likely leave consumers worse off. Comment Jason Johnson of the University of Virginia Law School and Todd Zwicky of the Scalia Law School in a recent study about the CFPB. So this matches the research on the topic, which has shown arbitration more often compensates consumers for damages faster and grants them larger awards than do class action lawsuits, in the words of John Berlow of the Competitive Enterprise Institute. Third, the regulation would dramatically increase the obstacles that new fintech startups face, many of which ironically offer great promise to improve financial options for low-income individuals. For example, peer-to-peer lending startups could be killed before ever taking off from the new legal liability they will face. So I'm not really all that sure about this, because I have never looked into this, and obviously it's an issue because Q is bringing it up. But if any of you know more about this issue, leave some comments below. I mean, it doesn't sound like it's I don't know. I'm going to have to look into this further, because it's the first time I've ever really thought about it or heard anything about it. Which I guess is good, because Q is pointing out that it is something that needs to be looked into. And maybe some of you already have. Again, we all have different views, and we all have different experiences and things that, we may be, more up on than other things. So if you guys know about this, then leave comments below, please. Now, let's go on up here. Now, Q is saying here, oh, excuse me, that's awful. That's a great big yawn. I don't know why I'm yawning. Not enough sleep, I guess. Newsweek problems. He says Newsweek problems, and then he has a link here. Strike back against us. MSM not happy. Conspiracy label. Reread Crumbs conspiracy / MSM coverage. And now Q said on January 13 that there was a big conspiracy push coming. And of course we would expect that. I mean, really, they don't have a lot of leverage, or they don't have as much leverage as they think they do. And so they're always going to say, oh, that's just a conspiracy. I mean, that's what they do. And I know that for myself, in trying to wake people up, they'll just be like, oh, come on, that's a conspiracy. So, and not all conspiracies are false. And, you try to bring that to people's attention, but some people just really do not want the truth. Who will be next? They are here. Now, when he says they are here, I think he means they're here on that board, on the 8chan board. They're there watching. They will try to discredit. They are stupid. They bring more eyes. The proofs are important. Proofs provide new eyes, ability to question. This board in the coming months will be spread and discussed across all platforms. Important to be prepared. We will help. Truth always wins. So what he's saying is, and this is true because when I first started looking into Q, it's like nobody knew. There was a few people talking about it, and for some reason it just kind of twigged my curiosity. So I went out to the boards and I started looking around. But now, the more people that are hearing about it, the more people are saying, well, I want to go out and I want to look. Now, that brings people that are, really searching for answers, and it also brings the not so good people. So the people that are wanting to discredit and make fun and whatever. So it's a mixed blessing, I guess. But the more proofs that are provided, the more eyes that come to question, right? And so he's saying the board in the coming months, it's going to be all over the place. And it is going to be all over the place because it's just starting now to get into the news. So let's take a look at what Q is talking about here in terms of Newsweek. I do apologize too because my cat's mouth is only inches away from the mic. So if she meows or starts purring, I'll try to.
Most paranoid man in America.
Hang on.
Is that true?
Absolutely not.
Hang on 1 second here. Anyway, if she becomes a problem, I'll shoo her away. How the storm became the biggest fake news story of 2018. Fake news. And here, this is it's an interview of Alex Jones being interviewed, and of course, the same thing. Well, I'm going to play a little bit of it.
Paranoid person will be hiding out in their house, not venturing out in public. I go out there on the street, battle Black Lives Matter.
9/11.
Now, 9/11 was an inside job. When I say inside job, it means criminal elements in our government working with Saudi Arabia and others wanted to frame Iraq for it. Just a fact.
Sandy Hook. When you say parents faked their children's death, people get very angry.
Yeah, well, I know, but they don't get angry about the 500,000 dead Iraqis from the sanctions, or they don't get angry about all the illegal.
That's a dodge.
No, it's not a dodge. The media never covers all the evil wars it's promoted, all the
That
big
doesn't
things.
excuse what you did and said about Newtown. You know.
Here's the difference. I looked at all the angles of Newtown, and I made my statements long before the media even picked up on it. We didn't get any of the really important stuff.
What do you mean? We talk about all the important stuff.
Well, here's the big one they always make fun of me. You probably want to throw this in there. 30 years ago, they began creating animal-human hybrids.
Now, sorry. Now, of course, honestly, like I look at that and I know the truth, but I look at that and the way that it's edited and put together, and it almost, for a second, I rethink my own thoughts, and I think, yeah, it does sound ridiculous, doesn't it? And it does sound ridiculous. It sounds way out there, but it's true. And so anyway, now Newsweek is here, and that was obviously edited to make him look as bad as they could. And this article says, wild conspiracy theories have a way of seeping into public disclosure these days, thanks in part to the divided nature of U.S. politics, the growth of websites that actively promote them, such as InfoWars, and the capacity for fake news to spread virally on social media without any fact-checking or oversight. Enter Q. Hang on here. In late October, just days before a different InfoWars inflated conspiracy about anti-fascist protesters plotting a civil war was about to fizzle, a user identified as Q on the image board website 4chan started posting vague, portentous messages relating to an approaching storm. The user claimed to be a high-level government operative, and folks on Political, which is the actual there's lots of different channels, so it was posted originally on the Politics channel. A subsection of 4chan with a history of spreading fake news took notice, with some even believing it was President Donald Trump himself who was posting the messages on 4chan and on a similar website, 8chan. Today, QAnon, meaning Q, anonymous, also known as The Storm, is the web's fastest spreading and most pervasive right-wing conspiracy theory. The ideas behind it are difficult for outsiders to understand, in part because it has come to be applied to almost anything by those who believe in its veracity. But here's what you need to know about the biggest fake news story of 2018. I don't know. I love this picture. Huge storm coming Monday. Okay. Okay, and underneath it says, a meme celebrating a fake news story called The Storm. A Trump quip gave life to The Storm. The date was October 5th, a Thursday, in an exhausting week in the news cycle. The Las Vegas mass shooting had claimed the lives of scores of innocent people days earlier, and no motives had been attached, pumping a whiff of conspiracy into the air. Trump, while speaking to his press pool and surrounded by military leaders for a photo op, made cryptic remarks that have never been fully explained by the White House. Maybe it's the calm before the storm, he said to the gaggle of reporters. Could be the calm before the storm. We have the world's greatest military people in this room. I will tell you that. And we're going to have a great evening. Thank you all for coming. A reporter requested clarification about what Trump had said. What storm, Mr. President? You'll find out. Thank you, everybody, the president said. Trump's tone sounded confident. Perhaps he was secure in the knowledge of some future revelation he couldn't quite name, possibly something that could damage his political enemies. That the remark also came in the context of a heated back and forth with North Korea over that country's buildup of intercontinental ballistic missiles, and it could have been read to refer to that. In reality, however, the remark just as easily could have been a troll carried out by a man with a documented history of playing games with the press. Still, some of his supporters took notice, and it cultivated a sense of expectations. When would the storm hit? What would it reveal? The storm has been falsely connected to everything from secret Democrat pedophilia clubs to Jay-Z to a complete reversal of the Russia investigation. The Q internet posts began appearing 3 weeks after Trump's cryptic remark about the storm. The anonymous user would ask questions referring to the idea that Hillary Rodham Clinton, Barack Obama, and George Soros could potentially be arrested or detained, and would make random claims such as, "This has nothing to do with Russia yet." Apparently referring to his own internet writings, people started cobbling together the posts and reporting them to one another as clues in what they saw as a larger puzzle. One phrase that gets bandied about a lot on QAnon threads is "follow the white rabbit," referring to the turn of phrase used in Lewis Carroll's Alice in Wonderland and the 1999 film The Matrix, which has been mined for allusions by Trump supporters since he launched his campaign back in 2015. If you search the hashtag The Storm and QAnon on Twitter, you will find users connecting the prophecies of Q to, well, pretty much everything. Anything. Do you incorrectly believe that Clinton aide Huma Abedin was doing tacit work for the Sunni Islamic organization Muslim Brotherhood during Obama's tenure as president? That will be revealed in the forthcoming storm of information, if you want. Do you imagine that the rapper Jay-Z, who recently drew Trump's ire for remarks he made about black unemployment, is in cahoots with Soros, the billionaire philanthropist? The storm will expose that non-existent plot in time. Are you angry about special counsel Robert Mueller's investigation into alleged acts of collusion between the Trump campaign and Russia during the 2016 election? Then you're free to imagine that the storm will one day reveal the investigation to be a front for the real Russian collusion, which the conspiracists say took place at the behest of perpetual far-right scapegoats like Clinton and Obama. It did not, for what it's worth. Well, actually, Newsweek, yes, it did. And it's all coming out. It's all coming out, baby, Newsweek. All right. So... And this shows a tweet about Bill, Hillary, and Huma all conveniently in Hawaii on the day of the alarms. a post claiming that QAnon ties Clinton aide Huma Abedin and the Clinton family to false alarm regarding nuclear weapons that took place in Hawaii. Also, if you like Pizzagate, the fake conspiracy that implied Democratic operatives were housing a child trafficking ring in the basement of a DC area pizzeria, it too has been incorporated into the broader universe of the storm. As a conspiracy website called Disclosure News recently put it, the last information coming from QAnon are pointing out potentially some very bad news for traitors and pedophiles, for not the least of which is an unprecedented number of flights to Guantanamo Bay, the U.S. military prison in Cuba. What about Seth Rich, the Democratic National Committee employee who was murdered in July 2016, spurring an avalanche of fake news? On Q, his tragedy has become fodder for the storm. Believers in the conspiracy claim that Q knows the truth about what happened to him, and imagine that Debbie Wasserman Schultz, the oft-maligned former chairwoman of the DNC, ordered the El Salvadorian gang MS-13 to carry out the killing. In addition to the theory not being true, Rich's parents have expressed disgust with how their son's murder has been turned into a fake news story, so much so that they have filed a lawsuit against Fox News and other parties they believe were responsible for spreading it in 2017. I wonder who got to them. Where we go one, we go all. The storm, which is sometimes conflated in an unintelligible way on social media with "Release the Memo," a call by Trump supporters to make public a previously classified document detailing the origin of investigations into Trump's alleged involvement with Russia, is a conspiracy theory with legs, in part because of the degree to which basically any and all made-up ideas can be slotted into, according to Kyle, I can't pronounce his last name, a writer with Right Wing Watch, a non-profit group that monitors internet trends such as this one. Anything they don't like, anything they believe to be corrupt, can easily fit into this conspiracy. All right, let's. How much more is there here? A lot, but I'm not going to read all this. I'll read this part. The intriguing thing about the storm conspiracy is the degree to which it has taken off without the help of some of the major players in 2016's Pizzagate debacle, which have led to a North Carolina man firing off an AR-15 rifle in a Washington, D.C. pizzeria. Oh, come on, people. Are these people really that gullible? Like, seriously. Unbelievable. Mike Cernovich, a pro-Trump social media figure who helped spread the fake news story, described the storm to Newsweek as being amusing fan fiction. Jack Posobiec, a friend of Chernoff's, who also promoted Pizzagate, as well as several demonstrably false stories involving Antifa, described the storm as being a theater and said he doesn't even bother reading the threads. Well, good. I'm glad he doesn't read them. Because, there's enough of us reading them. The storm conspiracy has actually been pumped up both by minor figures in pro-Trump social media circles who are rewarded with thousands of retweets for espousing it, according to whoever that guy's name is of Right Wing Watch, and also by Alex Jones, blah, 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 blah. So, okay, I mean, honestly, this is exactly what I would expect from the media. I mean, exactly what I would expect them to say. They're just discounting absolutely everything, and they're not offering any proof. I mean, at least we've got some proof to back this up. They don't. They're just saying fake news. Fake news. Like, that's their answer to everything. Fake news. They don't have to look into anything. They just call it fake news. Unreal. And do you think there'll be any apologies? Like, now that Trump is cleared from collusion with the Russians, which of course we've known that from day one, now that he's cleared, do you think there'll be any apologies? Of course not. They're not going to apologize. They're not going to say, we're sorry that we falsely accused you. No, that'll never happen. So, it makes everything else here make sense. Strike back against us? Yeah, it is a strike back. That's what that article was. Mainstream media not happy? Well, of course they're not happy because they're losing. And the thing is, more and more people are turning away from mainstream media and turning to alternative news sources. Um, it's happening en masse. I don't know. I don't know anyone who's awake that gets their news from CNN. Now, sometimes I turn, I'll kind of check it out online or whatever to see what their news stories are, but I certainly don't get my news there. I don't, I mean, if it's something that they're unlikely to, like the earthquake in Mexico, okay. I mean, I might look something like that up, but something political, no, never. So, who will be next? They are here. They will try to discredit. They are stupid. So there are people watching the boards that aren't are there to discredit, obviously. So let's go up to the next one. And an anonymous user says James Dolan, and that's of that did the secure drop. Dead, suicide. Aaron Schwartz, dead, suicide. Kevin Paulson turned over secure drop to freedom of the press. Secure drop equals freedom of the press. Freedom of the press, John Barlow / Snowden / Assange / John Cusack / Daniel Ellsberg, Glenn Greenswald, Laura Poitras. Poitras, is that how you saw? I don't know. I'm horrible with pronouncing stuff. Snowden / Cusack, things that can and cannot be said. Daniel Ellsberg, Pentagon Papers. Glenn Greenswald / Snowden, The Guardian. Laura Poitras, Snowden, The Program. William Binney. John Barlow, VP, Algae Systems, Treating Wastewater. Yeah, that's another thing that I wondered about with the water, because John Barlow was the VP of, it was it's called Algae Systems, and it's for treating wastewater, making it potable. Barlow Clark, Burning Man. General Clark, anti-Trump. West PAC supports Clintons. I think the key is the media changing the narrative using secure drop, which is dictated heavily by Snowden. The big question, who controls Snowden? So that's just this anonymous poster's thoughts here, and Q picks that up and says James Dolan, dead, suicide. Aaron Schwartz, dead, suicide. Kevin Paulson turned over secure drop to freedom of the press. John Perry Barlow, 187. And that's post name drop. 187, of course, is murder. He was murdered, and he's alluded to that several times previously. So, at Snowden, you are now a liability. Q. Interesting. So here, it is a coincidence that these two men have commit suicide. And John Perry Barlow was murdered. And I'm not sure what he was post-name drop. I'm not exactly sure what he's saying here. Post-name drop. I know he's referring to secure drop, but I'm not sure what he means by post-name. At Snowden, you are now a liability. Q. So Snowden, I guess he better watch his P's and Q's. Now, I'm not sure where to cut this off here because there's so much stuff, and I'm thinking that maybe, yeah, we've got so much stuff to go through. I may cut this off just after and start another post. Okay, let's do this one first. At Jack, that's Jack Dorsey, of course, of Twitter. Civilian puppet. Player in the game? We play for keeps. Need help sleeping? How was your meeting with Pelosi? Protection offered? Life lesson. Be smarter than those controlling you. T-1234. Q. Now, obviously this is Jack Dorsey, and he is a civilian, but he is a puppet by the deep state. He's a player in their game. But what Q is saying, well, we play for keeps. Need help sleeping? Well, why would he have trouble sleeping? Probably worried. I think he should be. And then Q lets him know that they know all about his meeting with Pelosi. So he obviously met with her. And Q asks him, how was your meeting with Pelosi? Protection offered? So did she offer him protection to keep his mouth shut? Probably. And then life lesson, be smarter than those controlling you. Yeah. And T minus 1234. Now, somebody I saw had alluded to the fact that T was probably Twitter and that this was a time difference. I don't know. I really don't know. But it could be. And then he signs off Q. So I think I have been talking for quite a while now, and at least it feels like it to me. So I'm going to cut this off here, and I'm going to continue on in the next video to bring us up to date. So thank you so much for listening, and I will see you in the next video.